What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update, going to the last 24 hours of Tottenham news. And we're going to start off talking about Cristian Romero, as Romero did get substituted at half-time yesterday during the Argentina game, sustaining an injury to his right foot, and he's due to have tests on the right foot. And I guess today, I guess the tests will happen. But yeah, it's really kind of damaging news in terms of if he has like picked up a recurring injury, because it was the same foot, wasn't it, that he had the injury, and he missed the last game, or the game before last, and yeah, he's gone over to the internationals, played for Argentina, and gone off injured, which is really frustrating.
Yeah, obviously the current talk is at the moment he's unlikely to play the game on Tuesday, which obviously is not good news when it comes to being available for that big game against Man City after the international break. We'll have to kind of hold our breath on that. But I think it's pretty obvious over the last few weeks he's been playing with an injury. Yeah, I think it's clear for everyone to see that. Against Man City, he came off on 55 minutes. Against Aston Villa, he came off on 55 minutes in that one as well. Against Ipswich, I thought it was clear he was playing with injury in that game. He didn't seem comfortable as comfortable as he usually is on the ball and stuff like that. And his passes were going out of play, and he just didn't seem fully fit at all in that game. And now he's gone off at half time in this one. So clearly, the last few weeks he's been playing through pain and playing with an injury, and it's culminated in another situation where he's come off at half time. So maybe I just think he needs to fully recover from this injury. I think he needs to, whether it means him sitting out the next couple of weeks or whatever it is, however long it's going to take. At the moment, I don't think he's helping anyone, him playing for this injury, because the performances aren't quite there, and he keeps coming off early, and it doesn't help anyone. Yeah,
which leaves us in a bit of a precarious situation going into that City game. Hopefully, we haven't heard anything on Mickey van der Ven, but we did hear that he was going to be back after the international break.
Didn't say when after the international break.
It didn't, but they did give, I think a few like ITKs were giving like time frames, weren't they? And as much as you want to believe them, who knows what the truth is, but they did say like it should be, like, all being well, the City game is the game to look at. But we don't know until we hear from Ange in the press conference leading up to the game. So Van der Ven will be touch and go. I don't know if he's going to play or not. So if Van der Ven is out, it's Dragusin and Davis that look like it's going to take the field. However, if Mickey van der Ven is fit, I know Dragusin hasn't been great the last couple of games where he's been really poor, but I'm not too concerned about Van der Ven and Dragusin taking the game.
I'm just a bit concerned about if we're going to try build up from the back, then I do worry about whether Man City will kind of force too many turnovers and too many mistakes, because we know Dragusin's not comfortable on the ball. Van der Ven is a bit better, but he's not Romero level, and he kind of plays it safe a lot of the time. Will it mean us going a bit direct to Solanke? Maybe we need to do that a bit more in that game. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But look, whatever we want to say about Dragusin in the last two games, as we've said, he played very well against Man City in the cup game, albeit no Haaland in that game, but he did play very well. And he played very well in the other game, and then the game after that against Aston Villa as well. So he can put in good performances, and you've got to remember as well, last year we had Emerson and Davis as centre-back, and we got a 3-3 draw. So it'd be an upgrade on that, even if it's Dragusin and Davis at least. So there is hope. We know that going to Man City, even with a weakened back line, we know we're always going to go for the win and we're going to attack. So hopefully, even if the back door's left a bit more open than we would like, hopefully we can still hurt them on the ball anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we did go up there and get a draw last year, but I mean, we did ride our luck very heavily in that first half, didn't we? Like Emerson was doing his best to let Haaland in and score. Just Haaland didn't have his shooting boots on in that first half.
Yeah, but we still scored 3 goals.
We did score 3 goals. And look, I don't have I think we can, get at their back line, because it's not the strongest, even though they've probably conceded one of the least goals in the league this season. I think near to level to us, give or take 1 goal. So I think we can hurt their back line, but yeah, I am worried about that game in terms of you're facing the prospect of coming up against a bit of an angry Man City with some players quite rested. 4 losses. You don't ever want to be coming up against a Pep Guardiola Man City side on the back of 4 losses.
Yeah, definitely not. But at the end of the day, when it comes to Romero, we need to get this issue sorted. He can't keep carrying on with it, with the fact that he keeps going off early. He's even though he's feeling tired as well in that Man City game, he said he went off early because of fatigue. It wasn't because of that foot injury, and he got that foot injury in that challenge against Aston Villa where he went flying in on Rodgers. So I think at the moment maybe he could do with a break and just reset himself.
Footy Insider says that Tottenham will not entertain any bids for Cuti Romero despite the player refusing to enter into contract talks with Tottenham. Real Madrid are understood to be planning to reignite their long-term interest in Cuti.
And we'll have to wait and see. Oh, look, Footy Insider is not exactly the best source, but they have got a few things right over the past 6 months or so. But I don't think I'm taking that report as gospel, but it also doesn't make no sense, that report.
Yeah. No, it does make sense, to be honest. I don't think Cuti will be thinking about entering into contract negotiations with Tottenham at the time. And I think it will be smart of a team like Real Madrid, who are in need of centre-backs, to be looking at him. So, maybe they're putting one and one together and getting three. But I think on the face of things, it does kind of make sense.
Well, if you're Romero's agent, would you be signing a new contract right now?
No, definitely not.
So, there you go.
Let's talk about Sonny now, because he notched up his 50th goal for his national team, South Korea, yesterday from the penalty spot in a 3-1 win over Kuwait in the World Cup qualifying. And he spoke after the game about how he's been in terms of his fitness levels. And he says, "I want to thank my club, Tottenham Hotspur, for taking a great interest in my health and protecting me. I am feeling great. I am back to my normal condition, and I would like to play at 100% in the next match. Thank you to my South Korean teammates for the opportunity to score so many goals. It's a huge honour to be mentioned alongside the great names in Korean football, but the most important thing to me was to win." And South Korean boss Heung-min speaking about the same situation. He says he is currently struggling with injuries and is in a phase of repeated recovery. He played 90 minutes in the last match for Spurs, but when I watched him today for Korea, he wasn't at his best. I believe we need to continue protecting Son Heung-min for the future.
And I'm glad that he's thinking that way. Look, we watched the game. I think it was clear in the first half he was looking a lot sharper than he was in the second half. And in the second half, he kind of was about the game and, fleeted away. Obviously, he won the penalty in that first half, and with a sharp bit of movement inside the box. And obviously, he had a couple of efforts. And I don't think he was at his best, but he was looking, I think he's looked decently sharp over the last few weeks since recovering from his injury. But we have to take good care of him. We saw against West Ham, we rushed him back. Well, I don't know if we rushed him back, but he came back from that injury, played, I think, 70 minutes or 75 minutes in that game, and then had to miss the Palace game because he couldn't recover in time. He's now come back against, who was it, Aston Villa, played 55 minutes, then went off, played against Galatasaray, and went off at half-time. So we're clearly taking care of him and being very careful with him, but he did play 90 minutes against Ipswich. And then the manager was saying before the game, he's recovering. He came back for a day later than his other teammates. So he's still in recovery, and we're not sure if he's going to play a part. They did start him, and even though just before he went off they had conceded a goal, so you'd think, would they leave him on and try and get that third goal? He still took him off, and they were very careful with him. And people got to remember, it's not about having him fresh for now, it's about having him fresh for the whole season. How can we keep him fresh for the long term? And I think right now, as he's just come back from an injury, and he's still in that phase of, recovering from that situation, you don't want to put too much pressure on him. So I think we're being smart about it. But hopefully, what we're doing now is so that when it comes to, like, say, December time, he can start playing regularly, like 90 minutes. And so for the long term, then he can be at that level. But right now, I don't know if he's clearly not fully recovered from this injury. It's still hurting him a bit. You've got to be careful with him.
Yeah, it's just frustrating what the South Korean boss is saying about him he's in a phase of repeated recovery, which suggests he just can't seem to brush this injury off, which is frustrating. But Sonny says he's back to his normal condition, and then the Korea manager is saying that maybe he's not back to his best condition and you still need to protect him. So yeah, it's anyone's guess about when he can start playing proper regularly 90 minutes again.
Well, yeah, as we say, he did play 90 minutes against Ipswich and came through, looks like, fairly unscathed, albeit, he's the manager still saying he's in a phase of recovery. I'm sure when Son feels like if he's not injured, like he should be playing like as much as he was before. But I think clearly the medical staff are seeing something different, and they're saying like he just, like, as much as you feel fit, clearly you're not fully over this injury, and until you are, we're going to be careful.
Yeah, which is the right attitude to take. In terms of potential transfer news, caught offside saying that Tottenham are ready to battle Chelsea for the signing of Bournemouth star Ilia Zabarnyi. Bournemouth will sell Zabarnyi if a bid of worth £50 million comes in, which has put Spurs on high alert. I like him. I remember talking a lot about him before he actually joined Bournemouth on this channel. I think he's a really good player. I think he's doing really well for Bournemouth over the past year or two. Would I want to spend 50 million on him for what is essentially a backup centre-back? I question that. I'm not too sure.
Well, I don't think we would buy him unless something like Romero leaves, and then he would be kind of a view to that. Obviously, look, this is caught offside. I mean, these are not great publications, but Zabarnyi is a player we looked at very heavily before he went to Bournemouth, and we could have got him for a fraction of that price that we're talking about here for Zabarnyi. So it's clearly a player that's been on Tottenham's radar for a very, very long time. And as much as I think his first season at Bournemouth, he had a bit of a difficult time. Since Iraola's come in, he's been brilliant. He has been really good at mainstay in that back line, and they play quite a high pressing, aggressive system as well, and that would obviously suit what we're trying to do. I do think he would fit in at Tottenham. I actually think he's probably a bit better than Dragoshin from what I've seen, to be honest, especially on the ball, a bit more comfortable.
Definitely on the ball, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's acclimatised to the Premier League quite well. He's not a left-sided centre-back. He is definitely on the right. He's right-footed anyway. Not to say he can't play on the left, but I think it's with a view of maybe he's one we bring in if Romero was to leave, I would say.
Would you say that's an adequate replacement for someone like Cristian Romero?
I mean,
Zabarnyi?
On paper, no, but he's also one of these players he's a young centre-back, so he's like, I think he's 23, 24 now, so he's quite young, and how he's playing in the Premier League at his age is quite impressive. So on the face of it, is he on the Romero's level? No. But is he a player who could potentially grow into that? Yes, but you're going to have to, I think you're going to need to allow him a bit of time to grow into that. Yeah,
I remember when back in the Football Manager days of 2-3 years ago, I think he turns into the best centre back in the game. So, that's gospel. That's gospel.
Yeah, for sure. And he's strong. He's quick. I think he'd fit in.
Very physical.
Yeah.
The Boot Room are claiming that Tottenham are in talks over a potential free transfer swoop of Bayer Leverkusen Jonathan Tah. The defender's current contract is running out at the end of the current campaign, and apparently he is going to be staying at Leverkusen until the end of the season, but not signing a contract. The player is valued at £30 million, although it's thought that any interested clubs could land him for less than that in the winter window. But I have, like I said, read a separate report that Leverkusen do want to keep him for the rest of the season, even if he does leave on a free. So, yeah, I think he's obviously a very good player. He nearly joined Bayern Munich last summer. And I feel like he's just been growing in stature over the last few years massively.
And he plays regularly now for Germany as well. He was one player that we talked about, I remember, a couple of years ago. And I was saying, I don't think he's as good as his partner Tapsoba, but I think he's become a leader in that back line, especially under Alonso. A very, very effective defender, very aggressive, very brave on the ball as well. No surprise to me that Bayern Munich wanted him, and they were flirting with it for a large part of last year. I think probably how they saw it at the end of the day is there was a bit of an impasse in terms of how much Leverkusen want and how much Bayern wanted to pay for him, because at the end of the day, with a year left in his contract, Bayern know in a year's time he's going to be on a free. Now, if he was to run down his contract, do I see Tottenham competing for wages with the likes of Bayern for him? Probably not. So the only way we can get him is if we go for him in December, I would think. But are Tottenham willing to pay decent money for a player whose contract runs out in 6 months? Also, I question that.
Did maybe end up going for a centre-back, though? Did they not sign a centre-back at all?
They've got Kim Min-jae, Upamecano.
Did they sign one in the summer?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head who they have.
I don't think they did they?
No. Well, Dyer is set to leave.
Yeah, Dyer will leave in the summer. Has Dyer even played this season?
Yeah, not much, I don't think.
I think Kim Min-jae, Upamecano, and is there anyone else there?
Not sure. Probably, but no one. I think those are the starting two.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, if we're going to be competing with Bayern Munich, then it's going to be a tall order. But we did compete with Bayern Munich for Dragstream and ended up winning that battle.
Yeah, but that was a different case. Apparently, we offered less wages and he still came to us. But, that was the promise of first-team football. Maybe that would be something that Tar looks at. But look, Tar's a German international. He's a German player. I think the bright lights of Bayern is something that he wanted, clearly, I think, in the summer. But they just couldn't get the deal done between him, Leverkusen and him. And Leverkusen and Bayern, the teams couldn't do it. But if he's going on a free, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there. But maybe if Romero is leaving, maybe we would be willing to commit a few more wages on a player who's going to be a free transfer if Romero does leave. And I think he'd be a very good replacement for Romero.
How old is he? He's 28, so he's at
very good age for a
really good age. Yeah.
Mm.
I would love to see him come through the door. Like I said, I think we discussed it over the last couple of years. I wasn't that convinced a couple of years ago, but now I really am convinced after seeing him for club and country and playing in systems now for Bayer Leverkusen under Xavi Alonso and Germany under Julian Nagelsmann really shows he can do the kind of football that we're trying to do.
He's great. He's a great defender, and there's no surprise to me that a lot of teams are after him. I just think that how players demand such high wages when they go on a free, I think we'd be interested, but basically we're going to have to make him our highest paid player, most probably.
You reckon that high?
Most probably. He's coming on a free transfer. So I think he'd come into it, and I don't know how much he's on now, but I think he'd probably want to be our highest paid player if he comes in.
Do you think Bayern would give him that much wages as well?
I don't know. I don't know what the wage structure is.
Jonathan Tah wages. So he's on 54 grand a week at the moment at Bayer Leverkusen. If you want to look at Bayern Munich wages, I mean, I don't think they're going to offer him that much wages.
Depends how much they want him.
So they've got hefty wages, man. They do, but it's usually like the old guy.
How much is Upamecano and Kim Min-jae on?
Kim Min-jae's on 230 euros.
Oh, there you go.
And Upamecano's on 190.
So he's going to want probably higher than that.
You reckon higher than that?
Because he's on a free. You've got to remember that.
Yeah.
Players on a free transfer, they demand higher wages because they're not paying a transfer fee.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, Dyer's on bloody 96.
That might be a wage reduction from what he was on at Tottenham.
I reckon Spurs on a free would offer him probably between 150 and 160, something like that.
Yeah, and I think Bayern, if they want him to be a starting centre-back, probably at least match him for what they're on. And would we do that? Maybe. I'd like to think there's a chance, but I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah. All right, well, last but not least, Fichajes out in Spain are talking about Tottenham are plotting a move for Sociedad star Takefusa Kubo in 2025. The former Real Madrid star is also on the radar of Liverpool and Bayern Munich. The 23-year-old has a £50 million release clause. Again, a player that we spoke about last summer. I think when we did speak about him in that moment in time, you weren't convinced because of the physicality that he does hold. I'm not 100% sure how he's got on this year. I don't think Real Sociedad are having the greatest of seasons, but they just did beat Barcelona, didn't they, last week?
1-0.
But yeah, I think he's a really good player, tricky customer, very technical player. Is he the player to really push Brennan Johnson out on that right-hand side?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's got a nice left foot. He's good at dribbling. He's good in those little tight spaces. I still have the same question marks as I do about him in the summer. I think this season I can see he's got 3 goals and no assists so far this season, so not having the best of seasons. But last season he got 7 goals, 4 assists, so 11 goal contributions last season. He's still 23, so I mean he's not like really young, but he's not. But he's still got a lot of time to improve as well. I do like him, but I don't know. I don't know whether him coming to the Premier League would be a good move. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I probably need to watch him a bit more to see what his physical levels are like. But the Japanese national team is actually quite a physical team. I'm not sure. Like, you can be small and still be quite a physical player, can't you? And I think he's got that kind of adaptability where I think he can play in the Premier League. But look, I think it says a lot about him if the reports are true that Liverpool and Bayern Munich are sniffing around.
True, but I don't know if they really are. We'll have to wait and see.
But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below regarding all the news stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.